Hi there everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'd like to talk about book covers. I watched Ariel Bissett's video which she filmed years ago. She was speaking about book covers and how she judges books by their covers. I do the same thing. I think, like what she says, a lot of us do, and I'd like to share my thoughts on book covers, if I think they're important, etc. So I've got 3 books here that I really like the covers of. The first book I have really popped out to me in Waterstones, and it's not only because of the content but the book cover itself, and it's At the Existentialist Cafe by Sarah Bakewell. This is a book about some existentialist philosophers, Jean-Paul Sartre, oh blimey I can't pronounce her name, de Beauvoir, who wrote The Second Sex, and Albert Camus, and I think this cover just summarises their life, I guess, quite interestingly. They're like, oh yes, we're philosophers, we drink apricot cocktails and we know what we're talking about. I think that's what this cover brings across. Another book I want to talk about, quite recently released, maybe, depends on what you class as recently, Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste. I know that she has how to pronounce her last name on her Instagram. Is it Ong? One sec. Ing, pronounced Ing. Celeste Ing. Ha, I got a name right. Yay. This incorporates photography, which I think that is so cool. Who designed that house? It's pretty cool, isn't it? Someone spent a lot of time on that cover, and I think that's one of the main things I want to put across, is that people were paid to do this. They love doing this. This is their job, to portray what they think the book is about the mood or something very important in the book. As we can see here, I don't know what this book could be about, could you? It's very important that a cover represents, I think, what the book is trying to say. Moving on, The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock is set in 18th century London, and this pattern I think is beautiful, but not only is it beautiful, but they had these patterns in 18th century London as well, and the clamshells as well are mentioned in the book at one point. It's not really a massive part of the book, but yeah, it is in the book. I think that portrays kind of the setting we have in this book quite well. Love the book cover. Great job, whoever designed this. I'll give them creds. Suzanne Dean. So then I move on to the books I bought the books I bought because of their covers. I enjoy both of these books. I just recently finished Tokyo Ueno Station by Yu Miri. I can't pronounce people's names. I don't know if that's how you pronounce that, but look how beautiful this cover is. It's so pretty. I think it symbolises a lot of what I picture in my head of Japanese illustration. And I also have read quite a while ago now Ali Smith, Autumn. Another beautiful cover, a painting on here which just looks absolutely beautiful. I've got a question for you. Let's pretend, if you have read these books, you haven't. What do you think these books are about? These books, for me, are both really miserable, and I don't think these covers represent the mood of the books whatsoever, and I'm not sure how I feel about these covers. If I were to attach a colour to both of these books, it would be grey or black. They're just very, not monotonous, but they both have very lonely characters in, and this does not say lonely to me. If this isn't true to the book, which I don't think it is this false advertising? And if it is false advertising, is that a problem, or should we just be happy that the book covers are beautiful? A question! Let me know what you think. Lastly, I want to talk about classics. So, here are some books that I definitely did not buy because of their covers, because their covers are so boring. So here I have Homer the Odyssey, translated by T.E. Lawrence. I bought this because it's the Odyssey. I did not buy it because of the cover. That's boring. That's really boring. And also, I've never read it, so I can't comment. on whether it represents the mood of the book. Other than that, that's a classic. It seems like classic art with classic book. Second classic, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. What is this cover? That's not Sherlock Holmes, is it? No, it's a lady in a very nice dress. Again, I feel like they just put this cover on because that art was being created the same time as these stories were being written. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but I think the cover, you don't really have to put much thought into a cover when something is as famous as these two books. Do you really need a good cover for these two? I don't think you do. You don't need a good cover when you are trying to sell books that are incredibly famous already. Like, people are going to read Sherlock Holmes for probably hundreds of more years. Who knows? The Odyssey. Might be translated for another few hundred years. You don't need a good cover for something like The Odyssey. What I'm trying to say is I think covers are very important if you're starting out as an author, or if your name isn't really as big and commercial. But also, I think just for modern books nowadays, even if your name is Stephen King, for example, well, if you are the famous author Stephen King, I still think it's important for you to have a good cover, because that's just, part of the book now, I think, nowadays, where it didn't used to be. So, I think I've mentioned this book before. It's Robinson Crusoe. I have another book similar to this. What is that cover? You don't really have, cover designers back in the old days, but now it's part of the book, isn't it? And a very valued part of the book. What am I trying to say here? Book covers are important. Book cover designers are in their job for a reason. Yes, it's to sell a book, but it's also to create some art like this. This is beautiful. I mean, you could happily hang that up on a wall, couldn't you? It's so beautiful. If it doesn't represent the mood of the book, I still don't know how I feel about that. But I'm not going to complain, because we still get a beautiful cover out of it. I hope I've given you some things to think about. Thank you for watching. I don't know why I'm doing this. Goodbye.